involved? Tangent, because the tangent has nothing about the hypotenuse in it. If you have no information about the hypotenuse, which function must you use? The tangent function. Because the tangent function is the one that has nothing about the hypotenuse. Okay? All right. We're going to do the calculator thing tomorrow. All right, the angle specified determines which side is opposite and which side is adjacent. You can't simply draw a picture and say, okay, this one's always adjacent, this one's always opposite. It depends on the angle. Now I'm going to do a little physical demonstration that people at home won't be able to see, but pay attention and imagine it in your mind's eye. James, since you're finished writing, please go stand right there where the shadow meets the sunshine. Tyler, can you come stand right here next to me? Okay, James is standing about 6 feet in front of me, and Tyler is standing right next to me. Which one of these individuals is opposite me? James. If James and I reach out, can we touch each other? No, we're too far apart, right? Who's adjacent to me? Tyler. Can I touch Tyler? Yes. Okay. Opposite, no touching. Adjacent, invade personal space. Okay, thank you. Y'all have a seat. Now, how does that apply? Remember I said the designated angle will never be 90 degrees. It's going to be one of the others. If this angle is theta, and I want you to actually draw a little, that's like a tick mark that helps you identify that is your angle. The hypotenuse is not hard to find. It's always the longest side. But the question is, in reference to that angle, which side is adjacent to it and which side is opposite it? Okay, well, if you notice, I have this leg labeled adjacent. And what do you notice about the leg and this little tick mark that I just drew? They're touching each other. So that is your adjacent leg. The other leg, is it touching the tick mark? No, they're not touching. So that is your opposite leg for this specific triangle because of where I've designated the angle. Doesn't matter. That's how you decide what's opposite and what's adjacent. The hypotenuse will always be the longest leg. It will always be opposite the 90-degree angle. Notice, is the hypotenuse touching this little red thing in any form or fashion? No. Okay? All right. Now, same triangle. New angle. Notice the hypotenuse is still in the same location. But what happened to the adjacent and opposite? They switched. Because when I am referring to this angle, now it is this leg that is touching it. So this is now the adjacent leg. And this is now the opposite leg because it is not touching the actual angle. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes. You good? Everybody good with this one?
What, like, is it in the book? It's gonna be like that.
Well, it won't say theta. It'll be like an angle. It'll be like 32 degrees. Okay. Well, let's look at some examples. All right, in this example right here, I have a 90-degree angle, a 58-degree angle, and a 32-degree angle. All right, I am going to choose an angle to be my designated angle, but it's not going to be the 90-degree angle. So y'all shout out, somebody. Nick Lejeune, which one you want me to use? 32. All right, so I'm going to actually draw my tick mark designating that this is the angle I'm using. Now, in reference to that angle, what two sides do I have information on?
Adjacent of the legs.
The legs. Okay, well, let's determine which one is the opposite leg and which one is the adjacent leg. Which one's opposite? X. X is the opposite leg because nowhere does this line segment touch this little angle tick mark that I drew, which means 22 is the adjacent leg. Okay, well, now that I've identified those things, I've got to choose what function to use to solve this problem. Which function, sine, cosine, or tangent, deals with opposite and adjacent? Tangent. TOA. T-O-A. So how do we set it up? The tangent of my angle measure, which is 32, is equal to the opposite, which we said is x, over the adjacent, which we've identified as 22. Now tonight for your homework, this is all you're going to do. No, tomorrow we're going to actually use the calculator, show when to use the shift key, when to not use the shift key, and how to do that. Yes? What's that? The reason I know it's tangent is because in reference to the 32 degrees, I have information about the opposite and the adjacent. Okay? Now, which one of these functions contains opposite and adjacent? Tangent. And this is where your SOHCAHTOA is going to come in. Okay? OA. This is the only one that has OA. Tangent. All right. Now let's do another. Okay, let's do the same problem, but this time, instead of using 32 as my degree measure, I'm going to use 58 as my designated angle measure. So what I've got to figure out is in reference to this angle, what are two sides that I know? And again, it's just the legs. And now I've got to determine which one's opposite and which one's adjacent. Is X still opposite? No. Now X is adjacent to my designated angle because I changed the angle. And 22 is my opposite leg. All right, well again, which function? Tangent, TOA, tangent, opposite, adjacent. So the tangent of your designated angle, which is what? 58, is equal to the opposite. What's opposite? 22 over adjacent, which is x. Like I said, tonight you're simply going to set this up. Tomorrow we're going to learn how to manipulate the equation to find x and how to use our calculators. So make sure you have your scientific calculator tomorrow. Yes?
Wait, how do you know you use 10 or 10?
Because of which sides are identified. If I have O and H, I use sine because it's SOH. If I have A and H for adjacent and hypotenuse, it's cosine, CAH. If I have O for opposite and A for adjacent, it's tangent, TOA, TOA. So, you decide which function based on which two sides are identified. Okay? In this case, the only other angle measure I have besides the 90-degree angle is 61 degrees.